Track 20, Unit 7, Lesson 1, Activity A. Listen and do. It is Friday, and the last big conference discussion, the world's top priorities for 2025, has just ended. A New York Post reporter, Chris Carr, is listening to his recordings to make sure he knows who said what.
Now, I'd better listen to my recording and add people's names so that I don't forget. First of all, then, Speaker 1.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming to this last big conference meeting. As you know, our topic is the world's top priorities for 2025, and you'll find a list of suggestions in your program notes. First, we're going to discuss them, then we're going to vote for the most important one. And then we're going to report our decision to the UN and to our governments. So, let's begin by introducing the people who are going to lead the discussion. First, we have...
That was Maria Delgado from Argentina introducing the discussion. Now for the next speaker.
I would like to suggest that the world's most important priority in the coming years is the third one on the list. We must try to give every child in the world a proper education and good health care. For far too long, far too many children in far too many parts of the world have...
And that was Leon Beck from Germany, arguing for priority 3. And moving on to the third speaker. I agree with the previous speaker that priority 3 is very important. However, it will not be possible to do these things unless we do other things first. In other words, I disagree with making health and a good diet for all children our top priority. Instead, we must first deal with the climate change crisis that we now face. That's number 5 on our list. You see, we simply have to... And that was Azad Kadir from Iraq, disagreeing with the previous speaker. Now, who was the fourth speaker?
Yes, of course we must take the necessary steps to control climate change. But I think we're already starting to do these things. And so it's time to look ahead as we think about our top priority for the coming years. And I want us to choose priority 1 on our list. Developing cures for all the remaining killer diseases. For example, malaria is still killing millions of people every year, and the numbers are rising in many...
That was Tessa Stone from Australia, supporting priority 1. So, moving on again, let's go to speaker number 5.
Thank you. So, now we've heard several arguments for different priorities, and I think it's time to let people in the audience give us some comments. Who'd like to begin?
So there we were hearing again from Maria Delgado, requesting comments from the audience.
Track 21, Unit 7, Lesson 2, Activity D. Listen and read.
I can't help feeling that priority 4 is very unrealistic as a short-term aim. For one thing, humans have never managed to give up their weapons before. For another, there appear to be as many international disagreements as ever. What's more, arguments over resources like water are getting more dangerous. So in today's world, not many countries would risk giving up their weapons. But that said, it certainly is an excellent long-term goal.
Priority 2 makes me think of the poor kids in my home city, Kolkata. Try telling them that finding new worlds is important. Their priority is just finding something to eat. No, I don't consider looking for other worlds is important in the short term. We need all our resources to sort out our own. Despite that, though, I'd hate to forget space exploration completely. We humans always try to do the impossible. After all, much that we do today used to be impossible. So, perhaps in the very long term, we really will succeed in moving into space.
Perhaps the previous speaker didn't intend to support Priority 6, but she started to do just that when she mentioned those hungry children. In rich places like New York, we aren't used to seeing people with nothing to eat, but we'd better stop producing a lot more food, or we'll soon have to get used to seeing millions.
Track 22, Unit 7, Lesson 5, Activity A. Listen and do.
Now I'd like to turn to the second part of our discussion. This is a really difficult issue. What's the best way of helping countries that need to develop economically? Tessa Stone, would you like to start?
Well, in my opinion, aid programs are very important. They can provide a lot of short-term help through the support of charities and volunteers who can come and give their time and skills to help.
Excuse me, but I'd like to say something here.
Please, go ahead, Azad.
Thanks. Well, I agree that aid programs can provide a lot of short-term help, but short-term is the right word. Programs like these are just for emergency situations, such as the tsunami across the Indian Ocean in 2004, or the terrible earthquake in Haiti in 2010.
Yes, but emergency situations can go on for years. There are people and whole communities that never recover from something like that 2004 tsunami. Those aid programs go on being needed.
I take your point, but think of it this way. If aid keeps coming, free food, clothing, house construction and so on, it can't help damaging local businesses because they can't compete. They can't work for nothing, so they don't. And that means that the local economy can't rebuild itself.
So, what do you suggest instead, Azad?
I really feel that microfinance schemes are the way forward. As the name suggests, only small loans are made, but these can often be enough to help poor people start and grow small businesses. The great advantage is that loans like these can help large numbers of people to help themselves.
That's an interesting idea. But now, Leon Beck, would you like to come in at this point?
Thanks. Well, there may be something to be said for microfinance, but the problem is that it just can't pay for the big infrastructure developments that a developing country needs. Roads, bridges, tunnels, and many other things.
So, what do you think governments of countries like that should do instead?
For big projects such as roads, I think they need to get loans from the World Bank or from other international sources of money. If these things are planned and organised well, they have the power to help lift the whole economy quickly. Take the case of the High Aswan Dam, for example. When it was built, half of Egypt suddenly had electricity for the first time.
Sorry, but can I say something here?
Please, go ahead, Tessa.
In the case of Aswan, I think the old Soviet Union paid most of the cost, and borrowing money internationally for big projects is really very dangerous. After all, it may lead to huge national debts, and if that happens, which it often does, countries have to pay back money that they need for new schools, hospitals, and all sorts of other important things. In other words, a big loan like this can do more bad than good.
So, in the end, all these types of help have points for and against, advantages and disadvantages.
Track 23, Unit 7, Lesson 5, Activity B, Pronunciation. Part 1. 1.
Bridge.
2.
Debt.
3.
Through.
4.
Half.
5.
Rebuild.
6.
When.
7.
Would.
Part 2. 1.
The farmers would like to borrow money through a special scheme.
2.
The city council says that it's going to rebuild the bridge.
3.
We're going to pay half the debt when we get some more money.
Track 24, Unit 7, Lesson 6, Activity E. Unit Task. Sometime later, Chris Carr had the chance to see and report on microfinance in action.
So first, perhaps you could tell me about life before the tsunami.
Well, I had a small business making and selling party wall hangings. I worked very hard, and I was also able to give several other women work for 2 or 3 days a week. But I couldn't make enough money to develop the business further, and I couldn't borrow the money either.
And then the day of the tsunami came. What happened to you and your family?
We were luckier than many, many other families because none of us was killed. But we lost our house and everything we owned. During the next 9 months, we had to depend on emergency aid programs for everything: food, water, medicine, and a roof over our heads. Everything.
When did things start to change?
When I got a loan of $100, I was able to buy some new tools and get started again. Business quickly got better and better, and I soon had work to offer the other women again.
Are things going well now?
Yes, I'm buying a workshop so that we can all work together. And next, I want to open a shop where we can show our work properly and sell it better.
And how are things going for your family?
My money has helped to build our new home, and it also means that we can pay for school for our 4 children.
That's a fantastic story. Thank you very much, Ibu Danani.